So, announcements are done. What were we talking about? Where did we leave Moses? He went into the desert. He found a wife. He had a little baby. Well, do you remember what he called his son? Right. It's like if your papu had moved here and he named your dad Xanos. Right? Stranger. Not because anyway. So he feels like he's a stranger. Now, what kind of work is he doing, Mr. Moses, out there in the desert with his wife and his son? Actually not, well, he's out in the fields, but he's not working in the ground. He's a herdsman. So he's taking care of sheep and goats. And he has them up on the mountain one day, and all of a sudden some strange things start happening. Here's what it says. Now, Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and he came to the mountain of God called Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him, the messenger of God appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and he saw that the bush burned with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Right? Now that's weird. You go out, you see a bush on fire, you think, uh-oh, lightning strike. And you keep on going, and then maybe you turn around, and it's weird because the bush still has leaves. It's not getting smaller. It's just burning, and it's not burning up. So what would you say if you saw this? What the heck? Okay. Moses says it kind of more old time. He says, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. Okay, so translated, wow. This I gotta see. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the middle of the bush, and he said, Moses. And he said, okie dokie. Not only is the bush on fire, and the bush isn't burning, but the bush knows my name. This is not the day I expected to have when I got up this morning. Right? And God, but he says, well, you know my name. Here I am. And God says, don't come close. Take your shoes off and put them away, because the place you're standing, this is holy ground. Now, what makes ground holy? What do you think? Is this like some special place? This bush, this little alcove on the side of the mountain? What makes something holy? Where God is present, it's holy. Do you think Moses gets that point? I think he gets it loud and clear. So we have a list of weird things. First of all, the bush is on fire. Second, the bush isn't burning even though it's on fire. Third, the bush knows his name, or rather the fire that's in the bush. And fourth, the bush just said, well, the fire in the bush that isn't burning just said that it's God, because the place around it is holy. This is really not the day Moses expected to have today. And then the bush, the fire, the voice of God keeps talking. And he says, I am the God of your fathers. So Moses is like, I was right. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. This is a big deal. Who was the last person to see God? Thinking back about all the Bible stories we've talked about. Well, Abraham saw God when God came to him at the oak Remember? The three men, they came and Abraham runs and he bows down. But that was sort of a different kind of vision. And Jacob wrestled with God in the morning before they crossed the river to see Esau again. You remember that? But that's 400 years ago. Nobody has talked to God for a long time. And Moses, he might not even know these stories because who raised him? The Egyptians. So Moses, this is not the day he expected to have. And I have more to say, but we're going to pause. We're going to stop till next week. We're going to spend a couple weeks on this burning bush thing because this is kind of a big deal. So with that, we'll stop, we'll stand up, go to the narthex, come down the center aisle, and we will receive communion together.